Hello, welcome. Hello, Carlos, Gabriela. The first thing, in 2 minutes of our presentation, introduce yourselves. My name is Gabriela Vargas. As you mentioned, Carlos, Soli, Pepe, CEO in Starcom. I have overtaken this position for 1 year and a half, and that I have been back to the agency where I started. I'm really happy to be here with you and sharing a little bit of the information about transformation in the digital work. Charlie Suarez. I have been working from Group M for almost 9 years and 1.5 year in TL in Mindshare. And I am really happy about the talk that we are going to have that we already started this morning back in another forum. And that's it. Let's go. Just to power up our engines. The first thing, let's talk about the challenges that the companies are facing, our customers, when we're talking towards digitalization. Clearly, there is a field that we can take, and we were talking about this in this forum, in another forum, another context. There is a clear challenge in the general gaps that we have. So I would like to get an insight of the things you're doing. Regarding Mindshare, I believe that the first decision that we made, thinking about how to boost digitalization, is or was to name the CEO to the digital director of the company, which was a really brave decision to make at a point where it is not happening. That was the first movement that we made at the group level, and it is really hard because Mexico is a conservative market in a lot of the decision making, and like to escape that feudal, it's hard because it is hard to fulfill the expectations of all the parties. And I think that when we were talking about today in Facebook publicity about the stories, I think that it is hard in as in any relationship that dialogue is the most complicated thing to keep. And if we don't have these expectations, so the client is going to have an expectation over the agency and the agency over the media. And so we're creating expectations, but nobody is achieving the goals they want to achieve. And to digitalize is necessary. Basically, it is like this word, this concept is so big too, but one of the inputs that we have is to understand the data of the client, to understand the business before the data, to make decisions, and to have enough information for decision making. And that's not a responsibility over the agency. It is a responsibility that starts with the client and where we add up to add value. And sometimes it is like, what's that land? Who belongs to who it belongs? And so it makes everything harder. So the autocritic on the agency, sometimes it is a little bit easier just to get into this loop of like, this is what I like to do, this is what I know how to do, and if I make this proposal, I know it's a strike no. But if not, maybe I can make a radical proposal, which would be to break the paradigm inside the company, and so it would be a lot of workload. So how to break these loops is one of the hardest things. Absolutely right. Just building over what Carlos mentioned, like going on that line, like to have an innovation. So this is a natural way in which we have evolved, and the market has evolved as consumers as well to help our customers and our clients. We know that they want to go through that transformation, and they don't want to be alone, and they expect from the agencies that we have this roadmap that is going to lead them through the right path. I think that the one of the biggest challenges that we are going to be facing is to question and to help the client to question themselves how going into this digital world through the right understanding of the impact for the business and the category. What categories, like to be or not to be into this. And I think that a lot of customers decide and desire to be in this point, but they also need to be conscious and aware that this process takes time. It takes some learning time, a learning curve, and to be open to making mistakes, to to hug that mistake, and then to work it forward, because that's the only way to create transformation from the client and from the agency working as a team. You have spoken about something related to talent and to the people, to the human resources. And so, how are you doing this? In the first place, human resources are challenges, and I'm not only thinking about the agency, also in our own clients. And in Mexico, I would like to say that in Mexico currently is one of the hottest markets regarding the work to jobs offer, how you face it. From my perspective, certainly it has been a big challenge to stay at this level, like to have the people that is ever ready for the digital world and to stay in the companies that they are. I think that one of the things that we are properly doing is to bring motivation and support to the teams to be thirsty about knowledge, about innovation, and to look forward more opportunities inside the company and through themselves. To be ready to look for trends, actions, opportunities, and also to look that our people can get to understand that it is not only talking about media or digital, but also to get into the deep knowledge and understanding about the client strategy. This is a really hard topic. I wanted to use another word, but I was knocked out, you know. So it is hard. Rotation is high. We're talking about the this central industry. You are over a 30%, which means that all years you have a brutal change in the roots, in the structure, in the deep structure. And certainly it happens to the media, it happens to the clients, but we feel it very deep, and it creates a wave that everybody can feel. To change that is really complicated because in the hierarchical positions is harder to retain because it's easier, it's harder to move them. But in down parts, you have more mobility because these little changes make your day. So the industry abuses that, and they are liquefying people and changing people towards all the companies. I have gotten CVs where the people has gone to the same companies and they have been round and round. What goes around comes around, you know. So I think that the hard thing is like the funny part is that it's been 5 years, you know. And the hard part to me, is how can you explain people that you don't need to change the agency? Just start by yourself. On top of what the agencies can do, you can start by yourself. What do you want? How these platforms can help you to build whatever you want. Doesn't matter what platform are you using, but the thing is, to build what you want, it's really hard. Agencies such as companies, they need to build a culture and they need to seek for a happy place for everyone to work. You know, I always say it in the agency, we invest so much time to this that at least we need to make it fun as we can. But it's hard because we are under huge pressure. You know, and these little changes in our salaries justify everything. And the real question that lies behind that is what do you really want? And I see that on a daily basis. The companies want to bet high, but it's easier if you want to go where you want to really go. And inside that challenge, what do you think? It seems that what is the role that the media partners are playing in that challenge? And by knowing that those roles are, what, how do you think that it might change regarding rotation? Well, in rotation, it's hard. Facebook, I mean, like it sounds hot, you know. As I can say, Google or Amazon, which are the three big corps where it sounds really sexy to be part of that. And not only talking about the things that we have been working with you, that we have achieved several agreements that are really interesting, where Facebook had helped us in the way that we transform our business and to build culture inside Mindshare. And that's good because it also allows us to see the insights of Facebook and people can make their own choices to say I would love to work on Facebook, or if I like to be this kind of agency, I would like to pitch this client or that client. In the end, this is something that is on our side of the court, because in the case of Mindshare, since we are the Facebook agency, it allows us a little bit to go further and to tease you a little bit, you know. But if I get off the Mindshare set, it's hard because I think that your rotation is lower, because what people are looking for is sometimes to be in the place where you think you're right. What do you want? We go back because the mirror we can get it, but the reality is other one. And Facebook has really aggressive goals, as any client, as any media agency. I believe that based on the topic on rotation and the way that you can help us and you help us, it's a little bit what Carlos says. We have people that has this need to have a deep understanding and knowledge, and they have this need of innovating just by the interest of knowing and just to eat the world, as we have been in that stage. But I think that the way that we have been supported by the different companies, and the way we try to content in the publicist group, is how are we facing this constant training where we can give these closer sites to the platforms, but also to the concept of transformation, that they stay active, that they are at the vanguard, hand to hand with the agency they are working with. Let's go back to the business and the role of the media players. How do you think that we can help each other a little bit further in the challenges that we have spoken since the beginning? In our case, I think that the first thing is that we can create value together, that we can check on our values together to set the proper expectations. Afterwards, we should have an understanding, and this is something we have talked about with Facebook. Our role is to move all the business ecosystem of the client. You're just a branch inside that. And to have this integration, to have a bigger picture of the business is complicated, because, of course, you, as all the other media, you say, like, let's come in and I will solve this business for you. But of course, not. This is not how it works. There's a lot of variables and a lot of things that you need to solve. And it's how can you integrate all of these, and you can create this the real business that you're going to be facing, which is a client business and their own problems. So I believe that this is an open dialogue, and that's the hardest part. Historically, we deal with the commercial part, and this is the format, and this is the best format, and this is the thing. Let's stop talking about formats, you know. If we talk about the business needs, tell me how will you move the numbers of the client from your trench, so we can have a clear understanding how in the end we're moving everything forward together. I think that one important part of this challenge is to be together and to understand which is this what are the needs of the client, that normally we try to do it through the bricks. And what we have identified, I think that a lot of the people, you won't allow me to lie, sometimes the client tells you what they think they need, but when you really go into this research to have the understanding of the client from the client perspective in company of your partners, then I think that it is more fruitful, because you find the real things, not to find the right answer or to manufacture that answer, but to understand the origins of the client's needs. We have talked about several things. We have talked about talent, challenges, business solutions. We have spoken about digitalization. And the reality is that the ecosystem, the environment, not only for us, but also for our clients, but the media companies also, that they have really ambitious goals. It's of huge challenges. So what is your perspective regarding in these short-term things, way of doing things, the data and the decision making for the business? What can you tell us about this combo? Well, I think that digitalization and like to have this information at hand confuses a little bit regarding how immediate can the results be for the client. The opportunity that we have in the digital world to have the information at the right moment doesn't necessarily mean that the expected result is going to happen the next day after the campaign or 1 week after you committed your goal. So I think that we have to understand the power that we have in the opportunity that we have in the data understanding, that it allows you to check on the behavior, the rhythm of the needs and the opportunities that the client is asking for or that the user needs, to at least just compass little by little this rhythm in the results versus the need of immediate response for these processes. To me, going back to the previous points, there's a fierce anxiety in the context of rotation at all levels, internal and external, where I need to demonstrate that I am providing results next week, because if not, I'm going to be kicked out. We need to get off that mindset. It's a little bit complicated, I know, because in the end, we are all financial companies and everything is being measured, and you want to demonstrate your value, you want to show your value, and it requires value. We are going to be the brave people that are going to be fighting the lions in the end of the day, you know. But you go make the change, and it can happen because we do it on a daily basis. The agency life is that on a daily basis you're going to be facing with success, failure, or maybe you were pitching a client but you lost another one, and to recognize yourselves these little efforts and these little wins or big wins. And a story that we had 2 years ago is that we won Dysol high gamma, high profile products in an honest dialogue. We were saying like there's no branding, we're going to start with e-commerce and we're going to be selling with the reduced budget that Dyson has in Mexico, because we're launching and we're testing. Let's go. And so we were analyzing all these things together just to get to that conclusion. But the manual was saying other thing. 2 years and a half after that, we started talking about branding from another perspective, and all these kind of decisions can be made. Eliza was in charge of other business and big budgets, and they were saying that they were doing a good job, and it was a good job. But they were, of course, you can achieve that, but you need to provide to add this value from every single part, because you go back to the proposal and they're going to be looking at you like, are you crazy? Because to believe in your, to have your own belief systems, it's easier, and to be conservative, it's easier. In the end, it is not that clear how it happened with Lysol, but it is like if in this data world and this constant feeling of immediate is now in this performance sector where this search is about 90%. So to me, it's like a little bit complicated. I mean, should we be defending more branding? Like to separate that should be part of the old paradigm when you're thinking how like Netflix was launched, how we just learned this like that is an OTT player, and this branding don't exist in that sense. They created like a theory that is worked out by their own, and the branding is in the content. So I don't really need to go like to put on the anabolics. Of course, it will change by client, but in the end, is to have a deep understanding who your customer is, what's your business need, how you move the money, to understand how the media is going to contribute to the final goal. And of course, it's really tricky to be talking about branding and performance one way or another. It's complicated. I also believe that in this conversation, we are forgetting something of the utmost important, which is the consumer knowledge that is brought by the data. Of course, we say that we are consumer centered, but I think that this balance between branding and performance, when you see it, we start checking on the space, and it's time to have a deep understanding to get this understanding and these insights from the data. What do they need? When do they want it? How do they want it? How do they like to be approached? What is what they like? What is what they hate? And to embrace this kind of information provided by data. So I think that something that should prevail in this is to have the understanding and not to forget that what you're doing is based on the need that you want them to buy your products, but you have to understand if they are ready for buying you. Of course, we're thinking about several things in a traditional way. This is a target 1825, and we have a slide in our presentations, in our PowerPoints that we said at the beginning. They show Ozzy Osbourne, and it is both of them are more than 60 years old. Both they have kids, but I promise you that they consume everything different. So to be stuck in targets is like, no, let's understand the consumer at the individual level, and we need to use it. We need to understand what does that do that person needs and to make the right choices. Perfect. Now let's talk about a topic that I don't know if it is complicated or not, but the future of the agencies. What do you think about it? What have you seen? What have you experienced about this? About the business models? Well, I don't know if I'm the right person, but I'm going to try. I think that it is really complicated. But the agencies are always in eternal transition. I remember that when I started 9 years ago, we're always in transition. Like in all the articles, we get the different articles. We're in transition. I think that the most fun part of this industry is that it is just like technology. You know, you have the possibility to go deep into detail and to have the data. Before we used to talk big data, now we're talking about some kind of data that has nothing to do with the paradigms we're facing. And so I think that the future, at least as we are facing it, has to do with the client's business understanding, to have an understanding of how this player ecosystem works out, try to have an understanding on technology with the rotations and to be working with people that are no longer with us. In the end, my business is deeply tied to the client business, and so we are going to share the information. We go into the sharing, and so you go into this consultancy model, business consultancy business, moving towards technology, and the profiles start changing because we're training all these people. This year we added a course on Python, which basically it's a programming language. So we're going to other places. And how did we adapt it? All the decisions start in understanding how can you help people in their business problems. Before, we used to have the understanding of the media, which was fine, but that conversation is way old. Of course, each media has their role, of course, but there should be a business reading for this. I think I think that in the agencies we have been on the edge. Whatever is happening, whatever the client has in their mind, and I believe that we have understand to survive. If someone asks me, what the future is, to keep on transforming, to keep on growing, to keep on understanding the business from the client, and to embrace, to assume the opportunities that data provides, to convert and to create the upskilling of our own people, to look in these new opportunities where we can see a transformation or a digitalization, that we can walk this way in the right way. For us, it is really important. The agencies are really important. Our business and our clients are really important in the Facebook revenue on a global level. And the reality is that way, since Facebook started as a business, not only had it not been less important, but it has grown. But we have to go also to the player side. We find these people in legacy, and they can be in this part where you have some clients that are acting really fast, and the companies, consulting cases, are also more active trying to go in. So what is your point of view about these new players? Some new players that are already stable, and some others that just want to go into the game. I think that the infrastructure that the companies and the big companies we have, and these possibilities to maximize a little bit on what we are doing, to look for this agility on the information seek for getting the right data and the requirement of the consumer, also gives you some advantage. I don't mean that that the smaller agencies don't have it, but as you mentioned, they have just one bias information or bias result. So I think that part of the virtue is in the infrastructure where the groups can have different areas and to unfold new opportunities and to go deep into the core needs. I will split it, you know. If we talk about from the media point of view, I think that it is really hard. It can be both hard or easy. And the numbers are talking, and the campaign performance are talking to you. But the thing is that in the end they are trying to sell you the best solution, but for that you need to have a, create more visibility, and that's something not that easy because sometimes it is impossible. So how can you justify the results that you're getting? On the other side, talking about you, this is a tech company, and that's it. I think that going beyond how sexy the brand is, you are tech developers, and so you have a wider range. And also you have dialogue with your clients, which I think it is the best because you take away that responsibility from us. We don't sell any products for you. You sell ourselves. And that's also an old paradigm because nobody will sell as good your product as yourself. I think that in you as in other players, role is the tech developers. If you were talking only about media, we're talking about CPM field, and you have to work out with the ROI and all that. But it's an older format. When you're talking about tech, you're talking about business because you can go into the guts of the business and start a dialogue and how it works and what are you doing, what is working, what is not working, how is everything affecting your business up to the place where you can see. You don't allow us to go inside. Sometimes the clients don't allow you to see what they are doing. So it's how are you be playing in that territory, and what you can see, you can make your choices. Talking about technology, also in our groups and in general in our sector, thinking about the six big companies, they have made these decisions and they have made their choices related to technology. What's your perspective? WPP historically has been a big tech buyer. I think that currently the philosophy of the company is to be simpler, to start simplifying even the structures, and this is going hand to hand with what works. We need to bet on that. Also, it goes hand to hand with the decision making on the business. If we're going to get this tax, is because we're going to use it. For a long time ago, we had technologies that were amazing, that were there getting dusted and that nobody used. Now the philosophy is that what we have is because we need to use it. And all this training part is oriented and maximizing that technology part. Of course, we're still buying because in this industry dynamics, there is always something new, something updated, and we need these tools to be in the ecosystem, but it goes hand to hand in how will it work for the business. Totally. I think that the new acquisitions has to do with these new ways of not only understanding the business but also how all this process goes hand to hand with the consumer, learning more things. Also in the group, in our case, we need to look forward to be in the front, not only to buy, but to maximize the data use and information use, and to look who are these experts that can help us to check on all this experience through the different tools that we can do. And I will add from this. In the end, the business and the client helps a lot. In the end, what we are investing is can I make life easier for the people that works with us because we're investing a lot of time for all these, and sometimes we use excels for examples, and it's like, come on, no, you have 30 million technologies that you can use, or you're still using excel because you are so used to be working with excel that thinking about changing that is something that you take as a negative connotation. No, and it happens internally, as it happens with my clients. Everybody is working with the dashboard, the automatized dashboards. And I think that some of the clients not even don't even check it. Come on, like let's keep on working with the PowerPoint, with Excel. What a waste of time when you can do a lot of things with technology if you can create these monstrous connections. In your case, for example, this is way simpler. And we're not taking advantage of that. But that's a chance for automatization to take over. Of course, yes, but why won't you automatize something if nobody's going to use it in the end? You know? But I couldn't agree more what Carlos says. Like, you can burn sometimes, and when we're talking about the clients and all the data cases that we have, require this need of connectivity because even though when you deliver that they don't use it or interpret that. I think that there's where we have a big challenge when we were saying at the beginning, how are we going to begin with this part and that you want to go to the transformation topics? Nobody has this secret or the holy grail for that. Only together we are going to understand, to learn from our mistakes, and to be positive about that, but also to be part of that transformation inwards that media is working. Because it is not just talking about the digital changes, but to have the information and immediately. It requires the side of the client to generate this transformation towards the business. And just to finish, I would tell you, I would ask you for a phrase that sums up the plan that you have in your head for your company. Wow, how hard. My boss told me this. I think that this is the best moment to work in this industry. It is a moment that is really complex. Complex in a positive connotation where we have so many variables and so many things are happening and we have so many players that allow you to do so many things that sometimes is like when you connect yourselves to Netflix, you know. It is a moment where it is really good. I think that the agency that achieves the right train of thought to solve the technology puzzle in the media partner's perspective, to have deeper and open conversations with the clients, with those who allow it, they are going to crack it. I think that we have, with some clients, we have achieved that point. When some others, there's always the opportunity, and not always they are going to be happy at all times. But how will you thrive this working with your media partners? And that's the hard part. For us, it is important that the group that we worked at the start com belongs to gives the advantage not only to have different disciplines or different expertise areas, but also all this creative part as an agency. And part of what the transformation is going on as a group, as a Starcom, has to do with the information integration and the different experiences from the creative side, the data side, where we can really go together and to support our clients to provide them the best experience for their business. Of course, we are leaving focus on this topic about we have to do what we love to do it in the right way. We have examples from clients where we have worked together, opportunities to go undergo transformation. Some of them have worked better than others, but you learn from them, and you see the success cases, then you notice, and so it fulfills our spirits when we achieve something. We need to work in a roadmap that we have in the group that is Publicis One team. We're integrating all the different opportunities that we have from learning one from another, and to learn from our shared knowledge, and that in the end what we are doing, you're doing it because you want to look for excellence, and only if you love it. Thank you very much to both of you. Thank you, and let's bring a big round of applause for